let me intro this, and then
No.
then we can switch to John. How about that?
I feel like I have to intro it because I have no idea what this story is about. They keep
Okay, yeah,
talking
sure.
about Moxie Marlinspike and what we think of them, and I have no opinion, but Peter and John do, so let's hear about it.
So, this is a very talked about article from Moxie Marlinspike, who is the CEO or former CEO of Signal, which is an encrypted messaging application. He wrote a thing about his impressions of Web3. Web3 is a term that confuses me still, because it's basically harmonizing blockchain technology with the web, sort of. I don't know, something like that. And it's all to do with NFTs and crypto and blockchain stuff being available on the web and all that. Oh, God, I hate it all. Anyway, I picked it because everybody's talking about it. And John, I thought, may have some strong opinions. What do you think, John?
Yeah,
Come
so,
on.
well,
I think we should touch
on, let's
John's
touch on,
completely
disagree with.
let's touch on Web3 and talk about this.
Tell me how I'm wrong.
No. Well, you're right in your description.
Oh, okay.
And
Just
I
my
think
opinions?
just your
Everything
opinion.
else?
And I think that Web3 is nothing more than the bandwagon hopping on top of Meta, aka Facebook, and their pivot towards the metaverse. Okay, that's what I'm seeing.
Okay,
because
Yeah.
they're hand in hand, right? The metaverse and Web3, they've sprung together out of the earth at the same exact time, which is kind of crazy because Web3 has been talked about for years. Over a decade, Web3 has been mentioned. Peter wrote a prediction, I believe, on Web3 15 years ago and what it would be.
It was
kind of
mockery.
Strangely, it was like the strange thing was how close his prediction was to what's happening. Anyway, I like the philosophical aspect of Web3. Decentralize everything.
Right.
That's really cool.
That's
Did you
the
just kick your
blockchain
cat?
aspect of it.
It wasn't my cat, it was my dog.
It was your dog. Okay. Then let's disregard the kick. But yeah.
Come on, John, I'm not a monster.
Okay. And you read this article, right?
Yeah, I read it. So my problem with Web3
I'm just
is
reading
it
it now.
feels
You
like
guys
it's a
keep
bunch
going.
of... Oh, okay, yeah, don't worry about it.
Quite long.
It is. I definitely stopped halfway. Sorry, Moxie. And but I read enough to understand the gist of the negative. Like, this feels, to me at least, Web3 is nothing but marketing material. It's like what blockchain has become. Blockchain at its core is revolutionary. The technology is amazing. And the fact that Satoshi, when he altered the idea of the blockchain to
the inventor of Bitcoin, by the way.
The inventor of Bitcoin, or inventors, we don't know.
Mystery figure at the center of
mystery
Bitcoin.
Figure, yes, exactly. They figured out a way to avoid a 51% attack. A 51% attack. Why don't you tell us what that is, Peter? Please.
One of the interesting properties of the blockchain is that it relies on a distributed model. So you have to have a lot of people involved for it to be trustworthy. And the thing is that if you control over 51% of the currency or the blockchain, then you can effectively fake any transaction.
Yes.
And that means the whole thing becomes untrustworthy. So
Exactly.
Satoshi, who was the guy at the beginning of the Bitcoin, or the person, the group, the mystery figure, the shadowy person in the background, came up with a very clever way to do this, which, yeah, it's all maths, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, me neither. I am not smart enough to be able to break it down, but they were basically, in a gist, able to solve the 51% vulnerability. It's still possible, but it's nearly impossible to accomplish with today's
practically impossible.
Practically impossible. Like in terms of physical space, computing power, next to impossible to do this, and that was the biggest weakness. This is how all the digital currencies before Bitcoin failed, was this single large flaw that everyone was like, all these cryptographers, they're like, well, 51%, and then it kind of like it died. But so blockchain at its core, really cool tech. Then into the mid 2010s, between 2015 more or less, every company and their mother, every startup and their investor was into blockchain. Blockchain this, blockchain that. We're seeing this still today. It's a blockchain company, but now we're switching to, it's a DApp company. It's a decentralized application, right? We're verifying our X or Y on the blockchain. Wow, much wow, super cool. But really not, because we're just exchanging buzzwords, is what it feels like. It's not more efficient. It's not better. Most of the security on these things, as Moxie points out, is abysmal. They're just blindly trusting, in Moxie's example of the wallet MetaMask, they're just blindly trusting a JSON payload that comes back when MetaMask sends a request. And they're like, okay, that's what they say. That's authoritative enough for us. But it's really, there's no verifications in place. There's no safeguards.
One of his main points in this article was that how Web3 is really becoming Web 2+2, or 2x2, which is essentially, so Web 1 was all about everyone's going to run their own server. They're all going to have the internet's decentralized. Everyone's going to have their own web server, their own profile server, and everything like that. And then Web 2 is where everything got centralized and everybody's using Gmail, and we have all these great services like Facebook and Google and whatever. And now Web3 is supposed to be, the spin is that it goes back to being decentralized and we don't have these central monopolies that are running everything. But actually what's happening is that because we're relying, so in NFTs, these JPEGs that people are selling, I know, non-fungible token. Who came up with that term? Jesus. Talk about gatekeeping terms. Anyway.
Programmers are the worst.
Yeah, they totally are. NFTs are this. I can't even be bothered to try and exposition that one. It's all becoming centralized again. OpenSea is one of the biggest places where people trade these things, and you rely on OpenSea. Moxie did an experiment where NFTs are where you're supposed to be buying a digital asset, and you're not actually doing that. You're buying a pointer to a digital asset. So
like a contract or a license.
Yeah, something like that. It's really mind-bending. Anyway, he did a thing where you can see on the screen there's 3 different versions, and it was when you requested it from different places, it would show a different image.
But they're all a single NFT. They all encrypt the same way.
That's
so
really
he could sell this one thing, but it would look different to whoever was viewing it.
Yeah.
And it got removed.
Right.
And after a short time by OpenSea. So this whole concept of like decentralization, according to the blockchain, it should have been a non-fungible token. Is it token? I forget
token,
now.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is. It's totally fungible, totally centralized.
Right. Yeah, and yet these same marketplaces that removed this, Moxie's example, are allowing pirated content to be sold as NFTs on their sites. And obviously this is a huge issue. Right, exactly. And this is where, we can see unintentional issues popping up with NFTs. So I made an NFT to make a point. Yeah. I made a pixel.
Oh.
And I literally made a pixel, and it's a GIF NFT, that I minted. And all it does is it's a single pixel on a white background, and then it zooms in on it and then zooms back out, back to this original pixel.
Please tell me you made like 10 grand or something. Please.
No, I didn't. I just did it. I just did it as a form of, I think, 1, protest to show how absurd this is, and 2, because it's just so dumb and it's funny that you can make literally a pixel.
What you're saying is that this was a statement on the futility of life. That we are born into this world as a single pixel, we zoom in and then zoom back out, but ultimately it's all meaningless. That's
Yeah.
Did I
In the
capture
end,
that correctly?
Exactly. Deep
we are all
meaning, and that's
just
exactly what I meant.
pixels.
We're all
Yeah.
just
This is-
pixels
we're all
and
just
See, now if you
pixels
had
in
that
the
kind
end.
of marketing
screen and
around
the
it,
monitor of the universe.
if you had
We
that
took it
kind
to
of
a
marketing
marketing
around
genius
it,
right
you
here.
might have got 10,000 for it.
I think
Um,
you know what? I think Mike's right. If it was like Kanye selling that, you probably
Right.
would.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, the meaning behind it. Meanwhile, Kanye makes 20 mil and then doesn't have to pay taxes that year. Anyway, so
What color's the pixel?
Yeah.
What?
What color is the pixel?
Back to the how what? How
Is it
much?
What color?
A white
What
pixel
color is
on
the
a white
pixel?
background.
No,
Oh,
white
even
background,
better.
black pixel.
Okay, I see what you're going
Be a
for there.
Original.
I see what you're going
yeah,
for
I
there.
know.
All right, I like
Yeah,
it.
This
yeah.
is like the artist
Yeah.
who had an
Exactly.
album of like
Yeah.
20 minutes of just silence, and then there
Yeah.
was another musician who sued him for copyright.
Oh my god,
because-
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I know, copyright
yeah.
infringement because he'd released a silent album.
silent
before.
album.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did I mention at the beginning
Actually
that I'd have
amazing.
nothing technical to add to the conversation?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Right. Well, okay, so back to the whole. So one thing I think Moxie's wrong about is Moxie says that people don't want their own servers. Right?
Yeah,
And I think I disagree, because if you present someone with an easy enough use case and setup and maintenance, everyone would want their own server. To say
actually, I think-
we could,
sorry.
well, just imagine that you can have a box at home where you store old pictures, you store movies, TV shows, books, okay?
Art projects.
And your email is stored there as security. Everything is in this one box, right? And then you can sell it as, if you want extra security, you get a second box that
So you could
copies
have
everything.
a
So a backup solution.
server at home, maybe from Microsoft, and they could call it,
Hmm.
I don't know, Microsoft Home Server.
Or let's extend. Let's really stretch this metaphor here. So you could keep all that stuff at home, but alternatively, you could take it to like a centralized location that would safely store your things for you to keep them safe.
Yeah.
But so like this whole argument,
do I
though,
have to
like
pay money a month for that, or how does that work?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like that idea.
John, I think you're right that like if you made it easy and gave people a choice,
Yeah.
then they would say, yeah, that's obviously my preference. But that's the same thing with security, with privacy. If you ask people like, hey, do you want privacy? Yeah, absolutely, I want privacy. Okay, but what if you have to do have the mildest inconvenience?
Well, it needs to be
then all of a sudden it's
convenient. That's what I said. It needs to be convenient enough.
But it can't
has
be
to be
convenient.
near
This is
zero
like-
maintenance.
The reason
course,
it's not
initial
convenient
setup-
is it's complicated.
If I can set up an iPhone in 5 minutes, or a new Android, or a new computer, right? I get my laptop, open it up, hit the power button, put my name in, put my password in, I'm in.
Oh, so we need to install web servers on every phone.
The dream.
Kinda like
So you did
that
read the
idea,
article.
actually.
Okay.
I came across this cool thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I came across a cool thing this week, which I didn't post because I didn't think you guys would find it interesting. I didn't invite anybody. Anyway, it was a kind of new network, not new, but it relied on IPv6, where like one of the factors of IPv6 is that there's just a unending number of IP addresses, so everybody can have their own IP address, and every device can have its own IP address. And it created a virtual mesh network that you can access from anywhere, because you have so many different IP addresses. You set up the routing for them, and you install the software everywhere, and then you can connect them all together, which sounds very cool. And yeah, maybe that's the.
So how does it? What does it use to pass traffic? Is it using it? Is it Bluetooth? Is it NFC? Is it just over traditional TCP and UDP, or what do you remember what it uses?
I don't really know. I think it's just magic.
I love magic.
Basically, it's really well. That phrase. Do you know the phrase? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Well, it could even be that it's on the Wi-Fi network. It's using 2.4 gigahertz, the 2.4 gigahertz range, right? The band to communicate with one another. Because if you have enough phones that are all running 2.4, which they are, you could do this be both the broadcaster and the receiver at the same time. Now, I've talked to you guys about this. I love the idea of a fully decentralized web. I think that's the coolest thing ever. The problem with IPFS or
more of a hippie or a hipster. I'm not sure, John. I've got to think about this. It's one or the other, right?
Hippie? Why would a decentralized web spark the thought hippie? To me, that sparks
fuck the system.
Like,
it's all down with government, down with regulation.
That's like anarchy. But I'm not an anarchist. Okay,
power to the people.
I don't associate or I don't identify it with anarchy because we still need government. I'd say like a mini-archy. You guys know what that is? Have you heard of that?
No.
It's the idea of
thing?
It's It's the idea of a government completely stripped of power besides like municipal and civil duties. So like taking care of the schools and the roads. That's it. Like pretty much.
I thought that's kind of what government was, really.
No.
All
right.
Okay, let's dig into that in another episode.
Anyway,
let's do
back to the decentralized.
Episode.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Back to the decentralized stuff. So the problem that I have with a decentralized web is that the perfect dream is that there is no authority, right? So there's no AWS or Google or Microsoft controlling these servers. And what happens when you host illegal stuff on that? Do you have to do a consensus where everyone votes that this should be removed? So these are like things that do you vote for people to have that type of moderation, to be able to remove this type of content?
I do.
Interesting stuff to think about.
I think you're onto something, John, that voting for this kind of content is really important, which is why everybody should like this video
like
to register your vote.
Yeah.
Right now. Like that's really the best way to chime in on the system.
Guys,
so
please like us. Please like us.